These are some of the most popular shooters in the world. But today, we are not talking about which one is the best. We are talking about which one is the hardest to master. What's up guys, it's Carly here. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm breaking down 7 FPS games and rate them based on mechanics, skill ceiling, knowledge and decision making from 1 to 10, with 10 being the hardest possible. At the end, I'll show you the final ranking, and trust me, someone's favorite game is about to get exposed. We're starting off with the most controversial one on this list, Fortnite. Love it or hate it, there is no denying that this game has one of the highest skill ceilings in any shooter. And yes, I know it's technically a battle royale, but I had to include it in this list. Fortnite's mechanics alone already put it near the top. Building, editing, piece control, the skill gap is massive. But what people often underestimate about Fortnite is everything else. Decision making under pressure, constant awareness, and the mental consistency needed to perform at a high level. In Fortnite, taking a break for just a few days can actually make you noticeably worse. Because of that, I'd give Fortnite a score of 9.5 out of 10. Next up is one of the most iconic shooters ever made, Counter-Strike 2. Unlike games with abilities or gimmicks, Counter-Strike is pure fundamentals. No excuses, no abilities, just aim, positioning, and decision making. What makes Counter-Strike 2 so hard to master is how punishing it is. One small mistake, like a bad peek or a wrong timing, and the round is basically over. The skill ceiling here does not just come from mechanics, but from understanding angles, timings, peaks, and playing thousands of hours just to build pure game sense. Even aiming on Counter-Strike is not simple. Recoil control, crosshair placement, and movement accuracy all have to be nearly perfect at higher levels. For all of these reasons, I would give Counter-Strike a solid 8.5 out of 10. Now we move to a game that looks similar on the surface, but plays completely differently. Valorant. Valorant combines precise gunplay with unique agent abilities, and that's what makes it so difficult to play at a high level. Unlike Counter-Strike, you don't need just aim, you need to fully understand utility usage, team coordination, and how abilities change every single fight. At high levels, every round becomes a mix of mechanics and decision making. When to use utility, when to save it, and how to adapt mid-round based on information. The real difficulty in Valorant is not just shooting, it's processing everything happening at once while still being mechanically impeccable. For these reasons, I would give Valorant a rating of 9 out of 10. Now, we move to a completely different type of shooter, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. If Counter-Strike is about pure fundamentals, Rainbow Six is the exact opposite. It's purely about information, patience, and precision under extreme pressure. What makes this game so hard to master is how much knowledge you need just to understand what's going on in a round. Million operators, gadgets, vertical play, distraction, every single map becomes a puzzle, and keep in mind, there are around 20 maps every season. Unlike any other shooters, you don't just react in Siege. You prepare, you drone, you gather info, and then you execute in a matter of seconds. And when the fight actually starts, it's extremely lethal. One wrong pick, one miss sunk you, and you're instantly punished for that. So the difficulty here is not just aiming or mechanics, it's the mental load of processing everything before you even shoot. Because of all of these reasons, I'm gonna give Siege a solid 8 out of 10. Next up is Apex Legends, one of the fastest and most movement-heavy shooters on this list. Apex stands out because of how fast everything happens. Movement, abilities, rotations, third parties, the game constantly forces you into high-pressure situations. To be good at Apex, you don't just need aim, you need advanced movement mechanics, awareness of multiple squads at once, and the ability to make decisions in seconds while everything around you collapses. The movement system alone raises the skill ceiling massively. Slide jumping, wall bouncing, momentum control, all of this adds a layer of mechanical mastery that most shooters simply don't have, and most players simply don't have. But the real difficulty comes from chaos. You're never fighting just one team for long, third parties happen constantly, and positioning becomes just as important as mechanics. Apex rewards skill, sure, but punishes mistakes even faster. So I'm gonna give Apex a 9 out of 10. Next up is Overwatch 2, a game where raw aim is only a small part of the equation. What makes Overwatch so difficult to master is how many layers are happening at once. You're not just tracking enemies, you're managing cooldowns, ultimates, team compositions, utility and positioning all at the same time. Unlike traditional shooters, fights in Overwatch are not decided by one clean duel, they're decided by timing, ability usage, and team synergy. One ultimate can completely flip a fight if used correctly, or lose it instantly if mistimed. At a high level, the game becomes less about individual mechanics and more about understanding tempo, when to engage, when to disengage, and how to coordinate 6 players in real-time chaos. So while the shooting obviously matters, the real skill in Overwatch is decision making under constant ability pressure. That's why I'll give Overwatch a rating of 8 out of 10. And finally, we end with Splitgate. On the surface, Splitgate looks like a simple arena shooter with fast movement and easy gunplay, but the portal system completely changes how the game is played at a higher level. To master Splitgate, you need to constantly think in 3 dimensions. Every angle can become a portal, every position can be bypassed instantly, and every fight can be turned around if you understand map control properly. The difficulty of Splitgate does not come from raw mechanics alone, it comes from awareness. You are always tracking enemies through portals, predicting repositioning, and controlling space in a way that feels almost like chess high speed. But compared to the other games on this list, Splitgate is slightly more limited in terms of depth and competitive ecosystem, which affects its overall ceiling and affects my ranking. For this reason, I'll give Splitgate a 6.5 out of 10. So here's the final ranking, from easiest to hardest to master. At number 7, at the bottom of our list, we have Splitgate with a 6.5 out of 10. Splitgate has unique mechanics such as 3D gameplay and teleport mechanic, but it's not quite on the level of the rest of the list. At number 6, with an 8 out of 10, we've got Overwatch 2. With constant chaos, ability management, and team coordination, the game is incredibly complex. At number 5, Rainbow Six Siege, also with an 8 out of 10. I put it above Overwatch because I think it's slightly harder overall. Pure information and game sense heavy gameplay, but still extremely punishing for mistakes. At number 4, Counter-Strike 2 with an 8.5 score. CS is just pure fundamentals, no excuses, just raw skill and consistency. At number 3, Apex Legends with 9 out of 10. Movement, chaos and constant third parties, you never get a moment of peace. This makes the game so hard to master. At number 2, I put Valorant, also with a 9 out of 10. Valorant has got CS mechanics combined with ability usage and even more layered decision, making Valorant so difficult to master. And at number 1, obviously we have Fortnite with a 9.5 out of 10. Insane mechanical skill ceiling, constant building pressure, and one of the highest execution demands in any shooter ever made. And honestly, any of these games could be considered some of the hardest FPS games out there. It really just depends on what kind of skill you really value more. Personally, I don't think pure aim-based games are the hardest. The real difficulty comes from different layers, so from games that combine mechanics, utility and decision making. Also, I judged all of these with competitive players in mind, since I've been competing for a long time, and for me a great FPS game is not just about mechanics, it also needs a solid competitive scene behind it. So I'm curious to see what you would change, because I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this list. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know in the comments what you think is actually the hardest shooter in the world. And with this, Call is out. Peace.